Hello and welcome back to coverage here at Grand Prix Vancouver. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Paul Cheon. And we're ready for top 8 action here. We've got quarterfinals. Erik Severson playing against Sam Black. This is our first seed versus our 8th seed. Sam is playing the deck of the tournament, it must be said, Death's Shadow. There's a bunch of them in the top 8 here. And really has had a resurgence. It's a new type of build and a different look at this archetype that we've seen before. In fact, it even had a card banned from it. And it's somehow better now.
It somehow got even better. Sam Black, again, pushed his entire team to play it. 3 members of the 5 people who played it made the top 8 with this deck.
Unreal.
Then
Modern?
Then Matt Severa, I believe, got 13th place at X and 3, and David Ochoa went X and 4.
Wow. That is in Modern, that is such a savage.
That is unreal for the 5. You think like at least one player would just get kind of unlucky and do poorly, but everybody did incredibly well. Sam Black squeaking in as the 8 seed, the only player at X2 and 1 to make the 8 seed. And the only reason why he was able to make it in is because Jerry Thompson played out the last round and won and got Sam Black the 8th seed. So Jerry Thompson conceding to Josh Utter-Leyton, getting him into the top 8, and then also getting Sam Black into the top 8.
It's all about Jerry T here.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And a good start here from Erik. He does get to be on the play with that number 1 seed. He's playing Abzan Company. And you can see he's got a Birds of Paradise after he had his Kitchen Finks taken away from him by an Inquisition of Kozilek. In the meantime, Sam Black deciding what he wants to do for the turn, and he's ripping through his deck with a pair of Street Wraiths here. To break down the top 8 for you that are curious, we've got an Abzan Company, Death Shadow, Affinity, Merfolk, Death Shadow, Burn, Chicka Chicka Death Shadow, and a Hate Bears. Every other deck's a Death Shadow
DJ
deck.
Marshall.
So lots of Death Shadow, and then a smattering of Burn, Hate Bears, Merfolk, and Abzan Company with an Affinity as well.
Yeah, so Sam Black does have the ability here to rip apart Erik Severson's hand. He does have 2 hand disruption spells in his hand. He has Delirium here as well. Looks like he is firing off the Traverse the Ulvenwald here with Delirium. He can choose to just go ahead and... Oh, it looks like he only has 1 land. But because he has Delirium, he can use the Traverse the Ulvenwald to get either a fetch or a shock land here. Which is likely what's going to happen. Question is, does he want to just get a Blood Crypt here, or does he want to get a Wooded Foothills and take an additional point of damage?
Traverse the Ulvenwald, of course, one of the powerful new additions to this deck. Everything costs 1, maybe 2. Tarmogoyf's like, hey, what about me?
Yeah, I think that's part of why this deck has been so successful. It gets to cheat on lands, it plays 15 to 16 lands, and everything else is a threat. It's either a hand disruption spell or cycles, or it's a threat. And often you just have the Death Shadow decks just destroying the opponent's hand and then just playing a 10-10 Death Shadow and winning.
Sam all the way down to 10 life. That is part of the goal for him. He has to kind of walk a few fine lines with tearing apart his opponent's hand, also trying to set up for his own Death Shadows. Right. Let's see what Erik comes up with here. Well, he's got a Spellskite.
Okay.
This is a pretty slow start, though, from the Abzan Company deck.
Right.
Birds of Paradise Spellskite. He's got a combined 0 power.
Yeah, Erik did have an okay hand where he had turn 1 Bird of Paradise into turn 2 Kitchen Finks, but Sam had the Inquisition and took the only threat out of Erik Severson's hand, which is why Sam opted not to use a hand disruption spell on turn 2. Sam looks like drew a Tarfire, not going to do a whole lot here. He has a couple of options here. He can either choose to traverse the Ulvenwald for a Death Shadow or just run out a Tarmogoyf that's in his hand. He also has a Kolaghan's Command and a Liliana in hand.
God, does he want to land?
Yeah, it is possible that he uses this Traverse to get a land so that he plays a Tarmogoyf this turn and sets up a pretty nice turn with Kolaghan's Command on the following. So Sam at 10 life, deciding whether or not he wants to take more damage here. Either get a basic land or a shock land. Okay.
So we're going to see that Tarmogoyf, aren't we?
Yeah. So he kind of went with the kind of the middle ground.
Yeah.
He's like, instead of taking 2, I'm going to take 1. I'm going to thin out my deck, but I don't want to get a shock land here. And that is a Tarmogoyf, which is currently we have land, sorcery, creature, artifact, and I think that's it. I don't see any instants.
Yeah, that's big enough to get by a Spellskite.
Yes.
Also, Sam can +2 that thing with that Tarfire.
He does.
How do you like that?
He can do that. Basically mutagenic growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the old Death Shadow Zoo deck all over again.
Mm-hmm.
But Sam is holding some hand disruption, which not doing a whole lot here. As Eric is hellbent, no cards in hand.
And really not much going on here. Lots of mana available.
So Sam
I'd love to see one of his collected companies.
Yeah, so Sam has a pretty decent play here. He's likely going to attack with the Tarmogoyf this turn, and then he has the option of basically, during Eric Severson's draw step, use the Kolaghan's Command to kill the Spellskite and make Eric discard a card. That way, the only thing that would punish Sam for this would be either a Collected Company or a Court of Calling. But
Right.
if it's any creature, he would get it out of his hand.
I love that.
I think that's what Sam's trying to set up for here. He doesn't really have any great creatures he wants to get back with the Kolaghan's Command. And that's
And
a
he
creature.
says, I have an effect. And he's going to make him discard an Onofenza here.
Yeah.
Nice. Sam got him. That was a good play.
Yeah, get that sweet value.
And that is going to leave Eric with nothing once again.
Yep. And then I think Sam's probably going to follow this up, unless he draws a big threat here.
Well, he drew a Street Wraith, so let's
it
see
could
if he
be
actually
anything.
drew a big threat here. No, it was a land.
All right. So he's going to attack again with the Tarmogoyf here. He does have a Liliana, which you can now use to kill one of the Birds of Paradise that's in play.
Now, he's using Liliana the Last Hope. Is that correct?
Right. And that's kind of where some members of the team kind of did their own thing. Some members of the team are playing Liliana the Last Hope, who played this list, and others are playing Liliana the Veil. Liliana the Last Hope is nice because in grindy matchups, if you're looking to play against other various Jund decks or decks with a lot of removal, it gives you a little more value because you can get back Death Shadows and Tarmogoyfs that have been killed.
Yeah, it looks like Sam's going for maximum damage output here. He's going to just tar fire the other birds before Eric has even a chance to block, and that's going to make another +2. So I think it's a 6/7 Tarmogoyf now.
It could be. We haven't. Yeah, it was a 5/6 already because he did use the Kolaghan's Command. So Tarfire did give the Tarmogoyf an additional point of power.
Yeah, I think it put it up to 6, right?
Yes, it is a 6/7.
Yeah, remember the Tarfire is a
2
tribal
mana
spell.
6/7. That seems reasonable.
Yeah, that's reasonable on some planet.
Yeah.
It's not this one. Though we are in Canada. Man, this draw has been pure misery for Eric.
Yeah. At any given point, he just needed to find cards like Renegade Rallier, Collected Company, Eternal Witness, but all he's done so far is draw lands.
He has seen 0 of those.
Yeah.
Those are his big payoff spells.
Mm-hmm. And Eric Severson plays 0 removal in the main deck. The only card he has, Fiend Hunter. Fiend Hunter is the only way to get rid of that 6/7 Tarmogoyf on board.
Sam gets to figure out what's going on here. He has 3 hand disruption spells in his hand right now.
Right.
So he's not gonna. There's not gonna be a big mystery here about what's going on.
Yeah, he might as well just get the information this turn before he decides what he wants to do with the Traverse the Ulvenwald that he has in hand.
Yeah, the card that he doesn't want to see is a Collected Company here
Right.
from Eric. That's the one with the highest upside at this point. Oh, interesting. Eric sacrificing 2 of his fetch lands. It might actually be a Collected Company
I
that he
don't
drew.
think it's a Collected Company because I think Eric would let this resolve. I think this is a Court of Calling for 1.
Cord for 1. So what can he get with that? A Viscera Seer or a
He
mana
needs to get a
creature?
forest if that's what he wants to do. He can't cast it.
All right, that's not what it is then. What is going on here?
I'm not exactly sure.
Well, we'll find out, won't we? He doesn't play Restoration Angel, I'm assuming.
Right.
And that has the same effect that you said. You'd just be like, sure,
Right.
there it is.
Oh, okay, so it is a collected
It
company.
is a collected company.
Yeah, I just don't know why he fetched the lands there.
I suppose.
He was going to do it anyways.
Well, that's not necessarily true, though, right? I mean, there's a Tarmogoyf there. All right,
Right.
now he's going to make him Thought Season, and Eric says, okay, fine, fine. Puts it on the stack. Let's see what he hits. Oh, his next draw was an Archangel of Thune, and instead he's going to hit Renegade Rallier, and this is actually pretty good.
And
And
it triggers the revolt.
yeah, he triggered Revolt because of those sack lands.
Oh,
Now he can get back on a Fenza here, or a bird,
okay,
or
so
a land.
that was a nice collected company.
That wasn't too bad. I mean, the Noble Hierarch's not exciting, but
Right.
at least it blocks.
But it did basically get 3 permanents onto the battlefield here.
Yeah, I should say it could block, though Liliana may have something to say about that.
Yeah. But despite all of this, Eric Severson's creatures are all tiny. This Tarmogoyf is going to get in there. Sam Black can use the Liliana to at least get rid of the Noble Hierarch, attack with the Tarmogoyf, and then use Traverse the Ovenwald to get to make a 7/7 Death Shadow this turn.
Yeah, I have been really impressed by Renegade Rallier. I have a feeling that we're going to be seeing a lot of that in Modern.
So what is Eric? I imagine he's probably going for the Inoffensive. Oh, but it looks like he's also considering just returning a Spellskite here because Liliana the Last Hope is on the battlefield. And if he returns the Spellskite, he can protect the Noble Hierarch from
Makes
the
sense.
Liliana.
That makes good sense. Of course, you know, Liliana operates at sorcery speed, and that was all part of the Renegade Rallier trigger happening. So it is going to cost him 2 life to do this.
It does
But
cost
he
him
gets
2
to
life.
keep 3 permanents, 3
Exactly.
creatures up. Yeah.
However, the Tarmogoyf is lethal, so he will have to block with one of those creatures. And Sam Black is at 4 life. 4 life. So he has to be a little careful here.
Absolutely. That's a lethal Renegade Rallier if you combine it with the Noble Hierarch.
Exactly. So in this scenario, if Sam Black attacks and Eric Severson blocks with Spellskite, and Sam, let's say he traversed the Ovenwalds for Death Shadow and plays it, Eric Severson can top deck a Fiend Hunter, get rid of the Death Shadow, and attack for 4 off the Exalted trigger from the Noble Hierarch with the Renegade Rallier.
Now, one thing to keep in mind as well is that in the top 8, the players are handed deck lists. So they had a chance to go over those. They know them. They know what's up. And Sam will know that there's 1 copy of that card in Eric's stack.
You know, it would be kind of an interesting card to traverse for here.
What's that?
Sam doesn't have it, but if he had a copy of Gore Clan Rampager in his deck, he could search for it and the next turn attack for potentially lethal. Because you cannot redirect because Gore Clan Rampager blood rushes onto an attacking creature.
Well, he's going to have to settle for a massive Death Shadow for just 1 mana.
So does Sam want to be conservative here?
Yeah, that is the question. Is there an attack coming, or is this past the turn?
Because Eric has no cards in hand. He has to top deck.
Yeah, for Sam to actually lose from
Right.
that scenario. But Sam
Okay.
still is just going to pass the turn back. And Eric, what does he find? Can he will his way back into this game? This has been a very close one. You can see the life totals are very tight, and Eric has been behind for every step of the way. Ooh, he drew
Okay.
on a Fenza.
It's just another threat. And Sam's at 4 life.
This has become a very combat-oriented
Oh.
situation here. What did he draw?
That is another Traverse the Overworld. So he basically, look at this.
It's just
We get-
creature for creature?
Right. We get to the late game and Sam just top decked a 9/9. A 2-mana 9/9. So Sam choosing to attack here, and Eric does have to choose to chump with something. I am going to guess that it's probably going to be a Noble Hierarch here. As if he blocks with the Spellskite, then the Spellskite will die, and Sam can finish off the Noble Hierarch with the Liliana anyways.
Yeah, pretty expendable creature at this point. So Eric's probably going to be pretty happy to get that much utility out of the Hierarch.
Yeah.
It's getting kind of interesting with the Liliana, the last hope. She's at 6 loyalty also.
There are a couple of straight wraiths in Sam Black's graveyards.
Yeah.
He can choose to maybe get those back. There's not a lot of value in plussing it, so maybe he can just minus and see if he gets lucky and hits a threat. But it looks like he's opting to just shrink instead. You don't see this very often, but we are getting close to a Liliana Ultimate. Liliana the Last Hope Ultimate
That's
in
what
Modern.
I'm saying. What is going on in a Death Shadow deck? Things changed over the last few weeks.
Yeah. Eric, again, also has great top decks in his deck. He can just draw a Collected Company here
Oh, yeah.
and be right back in it.
Now, as far as combo potential goes,
He
does he have anything going right now?
Well, if he finds a Collected Company
'Kay.
and finds Kitchen Finks and Viscerous here,
Then
he
he's
will
good to go.
then he will gain infinite life.
And he's not running Safi in his deck, right?
He is not. He chose to forego that and instead is opting to play Spike Feed and an Archangel Thune for additional infinite life combo potentials.
And by infinite, you mean 100 billion.
Oh, right.
That's what Eric names. We know this.
That's what he names.
Yes.
I name Google. All right,
You did.
3 gigantic creatures,
All
all
lethal. All lethal all the time. One unknown card for Eric, and this does not look like the blocks of somebody who has confidence that
And
they're
Sam
going to win
Black
this
drew a
game.
Tarmogoyf.
What? He just
Yes.
went Traverse into Tarmogoyf
He
needing
just-
action?
He just drew 9/9, 9/9 into 6/7. Look at his board.
Unreal.
He's got over 20 power on the board.
for 6 mana. What is going on? Yeah, it was a land in hand from Eric. He
And
found a Court of
that's
Calling, but
not
that's
gonna
not
get
going
it
to
done.
do it. It looks like Sam Black is going to pick up game 1 here from Seavers and Eric showing no fear. Takes 2. He can get a 2-drop. There's nothing.
Can
though,
you
right?
Court of Calling for like a balance or something? That wouldn't be
not
bad
how
here.
that card works. No. Sam should definitely ultimate Liliana pre-combat to send a message.
Oh, yes, definitely. Oh, we're not going
All
to see
right.
an emblem.
Court of Calling for 2, and he's just going to take a quick little
But
riffle
wait,
here.
there's more.
This is the obligatory. We're in the top 8. I have to look. He's pulled a Scavenging Noose, but as we know, that's not going to do it. All right, he's going to get a Viscerous here.
Got to
And
get that extra camera
Eric's getting
time.
that camera
look,
time in.
Look, you top 8 at the Grand Prix. Come
Yeah.
on.
Okay, go
All
to
right,
damage.
what, okay.
Sack it, scry,
Okay.
and call it a game. Sam's like, yeah, okay, man. You may block one of my 9-powered creatures. Okay, so that means game 1 to Sam Black. This is a stacked top 8 if you're just joining us. We've got Eric Severson and Sam Black. You can see that here. We've also got John Stern. He's playing Affinity. He's playing against Jonathan Zaschek, who's on Merfolk. We've
Right.
got Josh Utter Layton in this top 8, playing Death Shadow as well. He's playing against Nathaniel Knox, who's on Burn. We'll get updates on that as it goes. And then in the other match, we've got, that's right, this one right here, Jerry Thompson playing Death Shadow against Jason Samard, who's on Hate Bears. So,
and Jason Smart has a Chalice for 1.
ooh, that's fantastic against
Basically,
Jerry.
half of the spells in the Death Shadow deck cost 1 mana. Chalice of the Void is unreal, but Jerry does have a Tarmogoyf on the battlefield.
Yes.
And he does have a couple of copies of Kolaghan's Command, so he does have outs to this Chalice of the Void. But Chalice is still very brutal. Shuts off a lot of Jerry's cards.
Jerry plays one that costs 0.
Looks like Jerry is up a game here, though.
Tarfire to pile on as much damage as possible.
Right. Was that the first instant cast? If it was, then that does make the Tarmogoyf deal 2 more points of damage.
Life totals look funny here because Jason has no creatures on the board at all, and Jerry's at 8, but that's how it works.
Right. The one thing about the having the Chalice of the Void for 1 here is the Hate Bears deck plays 4 copies of Path to Exile most of the time. And now that is no longer out to deal with this gigantic Tarmogoyf.
Aw, it's Thalia.
Hmm.
A 2-1. Not going to get the job done here.
That's
6-7
cute.
Tarmogoyf. Huh. Yeah. This Death Shadow deck has been massively impressive over the course of the weekend.
Yeah, it's just so resilient. I mean, look at the game with Sam Black. He was basically top decking, but when he top decks a creature in that deck in the late game, it just has 6 power.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Minimum. Yeah, it's funny because when you watch a lot of Modern, you get used to Tarmogoyf being a 4/5. And occasionally it gets up to 5/6. This is often a 6/7 Tarmogoyf thanks to those Tarfires.
Yeah.
Ooh, Ranger of Eos for Jerry Thompson, though he's mana short, it looks like.
I think he has a land, actually.
Yeah, you're correct. He also has a Liliana that if he wants to play the land first, he can cast and get rid of Thalia. He may just sense blood in the water here and just say, okay, attack you for 6 and try to put him on the quickest clock he can.
Yeah, I think Jason is likely going to take the damage here.
He did.
And then he can just play Liliana and get rid of the Thalia. Yes. Goes to 5. I don't think he wants to lose that Ranger of Eos. Although, granted, the Ranger of Eos will get him.
Ooh. That was Path to Exile off the top, Paul.
But that's a chalice for 1.
Oh, no. I forgot about the chalice. Do you think Jason did?
This is a Namba. Yeah. I don't think he can choose to forget his own trigger here.
That is not legal.
Yes, that is not a legal play in Magic.
Yeah, so he's just got this stream of chump blockers.
Yeah, and
Is this weird? Is Jerry actually favoring this chalice somehow?
this chalice is working out for him because, again,
I don't understand.
the Hate Bears deck doesn't have a lot of answers to these creatures. Chalice for 1 plus Path is not what you want to be doing here. Is that a Shining Shoal?
I don't know.
I think that was a Shining Shoal. Champions block. Oh, yes.
If look, if it's in Champions Block, I know you know it. So he gained, 3 life with it? Is that how it works?
He basically gets to redirect. So what Shining Shoal says is you can exile a white card from your hand, and you can redirect X damage based on the converted mana cost of the white spell that you exiled.
Which was Flicker Wisp.
So he got to redirect the damage onto Liliana, I believe, or back to Jerry for 3 damage.
And then redirect that
To the Liliana, exactly.
That's kind of gas.
Yeah.
Shining Shoal? Maybe not.
Maybe that wasn't it.
He also might have just get it to Jerry. Jerry's at 4.
Okay.
Liliana pluses. Jerry gets rid of Traverse.
Does he have another Shining
Ranger.
Shoal?
He played the Ranger of Eos, though.
Did he fail to... Oh, he can't search because there's a Leonin Arbiter in play.
Of course. And even if he did, he would find 2 1-drops that would get countered by the Chalice.
Exactly.
Hate Bears! Yay!
So if
So
Jason Simard has something like a Shining Shoal and a 4-drop in hand, he can actually just get Jerry. This is a very weird game.
This is a strange game, man.
Okay.
All right, there's Thalia.
Some chump blockers.
Yeah, and Thalia's a good blocker for the Ranger. He can block with the Leonin Arbiter on the Tarmogoyf and keeps the Ranger back.
Yeah, so Jerry's just going to use the Liliana to get one of the creatures on the battlefield.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Tarmogoyf is now a 7/8. That might be the first time it's been a 7/8 this weekend.
Definitely. It's at least on camera for us.
Right. Jason has to chump block the Tarmogoyf, goes to 2 life, and has to draw maybe Shining Shoal?
No, and that's going to do it. Jerry Thompson wins 2 quick games here in the quarters, and he's in the semifinals, just like that. Let's get back to our main match here, Sam Black versus Eric Severson. Eric with a similar start to last time, but let's hope he has a little bit more action. It really did take him a long time to get the ball rolling, and Sam was able to really capitalize on that slow start, heavy mana from Eric Severson in game 1.
Sam has his choice of which removal spell he wants to use to get rid of the Birds of Paradise here. He has a Fatal Push and a Tarfire, likely using the Tarfire here because a Fatal Push can get something larger. And it looks like Sam Black also chose to board in Surgical Extraction as a way to disrupt the Infinite Life combo. All the cheap hand disruption, all the cheap removal, much like all the Jund decks, but then basically 12 Tarmogoyfs or 12 Death Shadows.
Yeah. And Sam Black's like, yes, Tarfire did something. Because we've seen Tarfire be used in some very strange ways this weekend, but rarely is it just kill your mana creature.
Yeah, frequently we've seen it as a pump spell.
Yes, like last game.
Yeah.
But that did good work there, killing a Birds of Paradise and slowing down Eric a little bit, though he had a Noble Hierarch to follow it up as well as a land, so he's doing fine on mana again.
So no hand disruption out of Sam Black in this
Which
game.
is strange, right?
Yeah.
He's got, what, 8?
Right, but
full
I think
package?
his keep was still reasonable because he did have some cheap interaction. He did have a Tarfire and a Fatal Push.
Sure.
Is that a Traverse the Overwhelm? If you look at his graveyard, he has Delirium.
Is that just absurd? Every time it's turn 2 and he's got Delirium.
It's
We-
turn 2 Delirium.
We even saw one of the Death Shadow players get Delirium on turn 1 earlier this weekend.
Yes.
Just
yeah. Fetchland, Mishra's Bubble, Street Wraith, Sorcery.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, Thoughtseize. And that is, yeah, I got Delirium, go.
And this is where the power of Tarfire, you get to see it right here. Had that been a lightning bolt, wouldn't have been enough.
Nope. You know, one thing that we haven't talked about much on camera, Paul, that I think we should mention as well, that I think is a big advantage, to this Death Shadow deck, is that it's virtually a smaller deck than 60 cards, right?
Right.
Because you've got these baubles and the Street Wraiths in there that just disappear and replace themselves with the cards. It makes the consistency that much more strong with the deck.
Exactly. You're basically playing a 52-card deck.
With a bunch of 7/7 1 and 2 drops and like
I feel like you're likely going to be seeing a lot more fatal. I mean, we've seen a lot of fatal pushes, but we might be seeing more fatal pushes depending on how this top 8 pans out.
I think you're right. By the way, there is a Death Shadow, though. Sam knows that Eric's answers for the Death Shadow don't involve direct damage. Eric's not even playing a copy of Murderous Redcap in his deck. So even though it's just a 1/1, he knows that it's going to die to anything that it was going to die to anyway.
Yeah, it would be pretty funny if Eric had a way to let Sam Black gain life to get rid of the Death Shadow.
Grove of the Burn Willows.
Grove of the
tap
Tap.
it.
And Sam can't even respond to it. It
No.
will instantly die.
Mana ability. That would have been sweet. But no,
Yeah.
that will not happen this time. So Death Shadow gets to hang around. There's a Kitchen Finks, though, for Severson. And there is Traverse the Ulvenwald. Is it going to be another Death Shadow?
Oh,
Street Wraith.
interesting.
So Sam is basically using Traverse to get himself a card and to pump up his Death Shadow by a couple.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Very flexible card, Traverse the Ulvenwald.
Yeah, he also had the option to just get a Tarmogoyf here, but opting to make
Yes.
a gigantic Death Shadow here.
Yeah, it's not quite there yet. It's getting there.
Okay.
A
So
fetch
that
land certainly helps, too.
Right. So this makes sense. Sam Black actually has another copy of Traverse the Ulvenwald in his hand. So
See.
he wanted to lose the life because now he's going to go down to 7. He has 6/6 Death Shadows. He's going to traverse for another Death Shadow and play it this turn. Yeah, this is just insane.
This
is
Death
turn
Shadow
3.
deck is absurd.
Yeah.
For those of you just tuning in, we've got 3 of these Death Shadow players in the top 8. They're all in the same deck, plus or minus a few cards.
And all part of the same team.
Yes. That's Sam Black, Jerry Thompson, and Josh Utter-Layton. Not a coincidence they also happen to be the best 3 players in the top 8, as far
Right.
as Pro Tour accomplishments and experience goes. Ooh, Maelstrom
my.
Pulse. Oh, 2 shadows down. And look at this.
Jeez.
Sam's at 7. Make it 4.
I think that's likely a one-of out of Eric's sideboard.
Holy
Oh
smokes, that
my.
was a blowout.
Sam has nothing. He has 2 surgical extractions and 2 lands.
So if Eric can find a Noble Hierarch, the game ends on the spot.
Well, he has a Gavany Township, so he can just attack with Township.
Sure, there you go. So the game's just over.
I think Sam is planning on firing off his Surgical Extraction here just to see how Eric sideboarded, because you get to look through the entire deck.
Oh, man, how tilting.
Yeah.
He had it all set up. It looked so good.
Yeah, he had 2 copies. It had to be exactly
Oh, man.
Maelstrom Pulse.
That's unreal.
That was pretty
Hold on.
sick.
I'm jotting down my future sideboard notes when I play against this Death Shadow.
Okay, so don't put 2 Death Shadows into play.
Yeah. Or play more Maelstrom Pulses.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it doesn't look like Sam's going to be able to recover, but we'll give him a chance to do so if Eric doesn't want to use the Township. But he does, and that is going to be game.
Okay, so Sam instead since Sam already just kind of has a good idea, they do have access to deck list. He knows basically more or less what Eric's going to bring in. He doesn't want to reveal the fact that he boarded in Surgical Extractions.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
He could have found out every card that Eric sideboarded, but it would have cost him showing Eric a key sideboard decision that Sam decided to make.
Well, Sam's going to be on the play now.
Yeah, Sam's going to kick himself. You know, he did have the opportunity to go get a Tarmogoyf instead of a second Death Shadow there.
Yeah, and he opted to instead use one to get a Street Wraith and then went all in on the Death Shadow.
On the double Death Shadows, which made sense too. I mean, he went in for the higher value play.
Right, but with 2 Traverse the Open Worlds, you could have just gone for a Tarmogoyf, attack, see what happens, and then on the next turn Eric is likely to use a removal spell of some sort on one of your creatures, and then you can use it to get a real threat. Right.
Yeah.
Whereas the Street Wraith just basically cycles.
Yeah.
But
all right, so let's check in on John Stern versus Jonathan Zaschek, and this is Merfolk. That's right, actual Merfolk here in the top 8. John Stern's on Affinity, and we're in game number 3. Yeah. How do you like the start here from John? He's got a Steel Overseer and a Signal Pest.
He does, and it doesn't look like John has an answer to it right now. Traditionally, Affinity is a massive favorite in this matchup. It will very largely depend on how many copies of Hurkyl's Recall Jonathan has and chooses to bring in. But an unanswered Steel Overseer is going to be a huge problem. They're basically going to just have to start racing. But again, John not off to a crazy fast start here either.
Yeah, that is kind of the problem for the Merfolk deck, isn't it? They both have a similar game plan of building out a board and attacking with creatures, but Affinity is much quicker.
Yeah, John didn't have anything like a Springleaf Drum or a Mox Opal, so just kind of a slower start. Looks like he's just going to attack, activate the Blinkmoth Nexus, and put a counter on all of his creatures.
No interaction here from Jonathan.
Right.
Though he's only taking 1.
Yeah. If John had a Vapor Snag or a Dismember, he probably would have used it before John got to untap. With
Though he does have an Ether Vial there.
Yes.
I don't know if he plays Harbinger of the Tides. We can grab the deck list. There's a few other things he can do, though. Let's see what he's got.
They generally do.
Yeah, he is. He does have it, and he is playing it.
Yep.
So he's going to bounce back the Steel Overseer, and then the turn's going to get passed back to Jonathan. By the way, I'm going with John and Jonathan here, as it's written on the screen.
And it looks like he has 0 copies of Hurkyl's Recall.
Oh, no, in the whole 75.
Yeah, I think what a lot of Merfolk players tend to do is just concede the fact that this is a bad matchup, and we're just going to hope to dodge Affinity. But it looks like he's doing totally fine here because John is off to a very slow start.
Yeah, exactly. And he's already won a game against John as well.
Oh,
they're spreading seas on the Blinkmoth Nexus, which is kind of double duty here, isn't it?
Right.
Wow, things are looking really good for Jonathan.
Jonathan,
this slow start is just punishing John Stern. Yeah. That was 9?
3, 6, 9 damage, yes.
Whoa, John's down to 9.
And all of his creatures are unblockable. I don't actually see how John can get out of this.
I don't either.
Or John Stern.
He can't race this, and that does it. Jonathan Zaschek is going to advance to the semifinals with Merfolk. Congratulations to him. Another top 8 in the books for John Stern. Great work. Lots of pro points for him. He's one of the consistent performers out here on the GP and Pro Tour circuit.
So it looks like another hand where Sam Black did not have a turn 1 hand disruption spell.
That is strange.
Yeah. Again, I would guess that he probably has some number of removal here. Probably Tarfire, probably Fatal Push. It's very difficult to keep a hand that has none of those cards.
It is all about that Tarfire, isn't it?
Oh, there it is.
All right, it's a Fatal Push in this case, so Noble Hierarch down. Street Wraith off the top for Sam. Does he have a threat yet?
Yeah, he has a Death Shadow in hand, so that was a
Okay.
very good draw for him. It gets him closer to casting the Death Shadow. Sam's not going to go to 15. If he has a fetch land, he can play a 1/1 Death Shadow.
He finds a Traverse to Ulvenwald, and no. Oh, yep, there's a Verdant Catacomb, so he can do that.
Yes. The saddest Death Shadow.
The lowly 1/1. It never stays that way for long, though.
Yeah. Sam actually does not have Delirium. Land, creature,
For once.
instant. Right. He hasn't drawn the MVP of his deck, which is, of course, Tarfire. Come
Right.
on.
Number 1.
He does have those surgical attractions, and so far they have not looked very impressive.
No.
They've just been kind of sitting in his hand.
No. Yeah, those are things he can use to break up the combo. He knows that if Eric does assemble the combo, that Sam can't win,
Yeah.
realistically.
It does seem like, however, though, that the Death Shadow deck has enough disruption where you really shouldn't be all that concerned about Eric having the ability to combo off.
Yeah, Fatal
So
Push,
maybe-
Tarfire.
Yeah, so it may have been better if Sam had some other ways to kind of interact with Eric, hand disruption, removal, etc.
All right.
Eric
the Death
does.
Shadow of Shame has arrived.
Eric does have. Sam does have the ability to make this into a 3/3 at any given point because he does have surgical extraction in his hand.
There's a Bird of Paradise.
Is that 2 surgicals?
I hope not for Sam's sake,
Wow.
but it absolutely is. And a land off the top. This draw has not gone super well for Sam. Now, that said, he does have that Traverse. He can try to get himself to Delirium and then start powering out more threats, but it's hard. Right now he's kind of all in on this one Death Shadow.
Yeah, he really doesn't have a great play right now. All he can do is attack with Death Shadow. He's got 2 surgicals in hand and a Traverse that can currently only get him a basic land.
Yeah. Attack for 4 is like okay, but
Yeah. But Eric Severson has a full grip here. 0 hand disruption has been used.
Eric's just going to take the 4 and drop down to 13, but he's going to have all this mana available as Sam has nothing else going on. Now, that was a Sin Collector off the top of his library, but he's going to start with an Eternal Witness, and is he going to get a land if he needs a land drop? If he doesn't, just get the Hierarch. All right.
Sam does Sam does have access to 2 surgical extractions.
It's not getting better than this for the second surgical, right?
Because he has 2 in hand, he might just feel the need to just fire 1 off, pump up the Death Shadow, and prevent Eric from getting value off the Eternal Witness, hoping that Eric doesn't have a land in hand. And he doesn't.
He doesn't.
He doesn't have a land in hand.
Which you would think that was the case, right? Because if he did, wouldn't he just get the Noble Hierarch?
Right, exactly.
So Sam can be pretty confident that he is making a pretty meaningful play here.
Yeah. So Sam really wants to find a hand disruption spell to get rid of that Path to Exile in Eric's hand. So Sam opting not to actually exile the Windswept Heaths. He just exiled the 1.
He left the rest of them in. He figures
Right.
those are blank enough draws that he doesn't want to make it better for Eric.
Exactly.
Okay.
Sam's still in trouble, though. He really needs to find a threat. If he does find a threat, he's definitely back in it. But he needs to find a way to get Delirium.
Okay, he found
my
Liliana, which
goodness.
is fantastic here. He can
Eric Severson-
really... Yeah, he can kill the birds and leave back the Death Shadow if he wants. Or he can kill the Eternal Witness and let Eric have his mana for a turn
Right.
and attack. He's going to attack first.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow.
Liliana.
Yeah,
So good against this Obzon deck.
I do like the attack here, and if I'm Sam, I'm going after that bird. Eric Severson's stuck on mana. And Eric chooses to block because he doesn't know about the Liliana, and Sam
This
plays
is
it, and
such
he's
a
no
blowout.
board.
What a beating.
Wow.
You know, it didn't look that good for Sam a turn ago, and now it looks fantastic for him to advance to the semis.
Now Sam just debating whether or not he wants to take 2 or not to make the Death Shadow bigger. Looks like he's choosing to play safe, and okay. Eric does have 2 plays this turn. Eric likely going to play a Viscera Seer here. I think that's what he drew. And then maybe perhaps on Sam Black's draw step, go for a Path to Exile on the Death Shadow.
Yeah, Eric is not done here yet. Yes, he's a little short on mana with only 2 mana sources, but he's got relevant spells to play here.
Right. And if Eric gets off the Path to Exile on the Death Shadow, Sam still doesn't have Delirium. That Traverse the Overwhelmed
It's
still
just
won't get anything.
stuck in his hand. There's a Fatal Push for Sam, which he
That
may be tempted to use. No, I guess the Liliana just does
No,
the
I
job.
think Fatal Push was a pretty great draw here. So,
Why is that?
So he's going to tick up the Liliana.
Yeah.
Sam can attack with the Death Shadow. He knows Eric has a Path to Exile. Sam doesn't have any other threats. Sam could choose to Fatal Push his own Death Shadow in response to Path to Exile.
Just to get it in the graveyard?
And I think that's the play because you get a creature in your graveyard, you give yourself
Yes.
Delirium, and then you can play Traverse the Ulvenwald for another Death Shadow.
Well, he's already got a Street Wraith in his graveyard.
Does he?
Yes, he does.
Oh, okay.
But still,
Okay, never mind. I thought it actually, I got really excited there. I thought it actually put another type, but it does not.
well,
It does
yeah, but there was still an argument for your side there, I think, Paul, because it does give you access to
Right.
using Liliana to get back the Death Shadow.
Yeah, I think there is still an argument to be made, but Fatal Push, to be fair, is still a pretty solid removal spell in the matchup. Yeah.
By the way, for those of you wanting updates on our side matches here, oh, baby. We've got Jerry T moved on. We saw that. Josh Utter-Layton, oh, yeah. He's
yeah?
through to the semifinals. And then, of course, we saw Jonathan Zazchek move on as well with Merfolk. This is actually the last match going in the quarters. Kitchen Finks now for Severson facing no threat. Liliana's threatening, but
Right.
she's not going to kill him on her own.
Sam doesn't have any threats here.
Let's see if he can find one. He needs that Tarfire.
He can actually just hardcast Street Wraith. It's not that bad here.
It really isn't.
It blocks the Kitchen Finks, and it's unblockable.
He's considering if he wants to cycle it or
man.
hardcast it. And I think you just windmill
Yes.
it. Street Wraith on the battlefield.
Boom! What are your thoughts about this card?
Go. That is great. Oh, is that a Tireless Tracker? But no land still for Eric, right?
Wow.
Because Tireless Tracker looks like it would be good if he could go track or fetch land, but
Right.
without the land tracker, it looks a lot worse.
And if Sam so chooses, he can actually get back the other Street Wraith. Just start going to town 3 at a time.
No
3 at a
way.
time. He can.
Or 6 at a time.
Right. At the same time, minusing also, it wouldn't be awful here because there is a decent chance Sam can get Delirium off of the minus on the Liliana. Even if he gets back the Street Wraith, he can cycle it. If he puts an artifact into his graveyard or a sorcery, then he can use the Traverse the Ulvenwald to get a creature. Eric Severson desperately wants a land here. Well, Liliana the Last Hope just fantastic in this matchup. Shuts off all of the mana creatures.
Looks like while the shields are down, he wants to get that Sin Collector down.
Right. The problem is it's a 1 toughness creature.
That is a major issue, but it is going to nab a Fatal Push here,
Yeah.
at the least. Maybe even Traverse, depending on how Eric sees the situation and how it's going to unfold.
Right.
Because it feels like no matter what, this game's going to go on for a little while, right? Like Eric's not dying next turn.
Right. Eric does need to find a land. If he doesn't find a land, I mean, he does have some time because he can just play out another Kitchen Finks, but
So he's going to take the traverse.
Okay. He's opting to take the traverse, even though Sam does not have Delirium currently.
Now, we mentioned it sort of almost jokingly last time, but Liliana, once again, is going to threaten ultimate. Sam can plus Liliana to kill the Sin Collector, just leave Street Wraith back.
Yeah.
Eric doesn't have that much in the way of creature removal in his deck, and just say go, and then Sam can just remove the dice, as it were, and take over the game.
So Sam drew a second copy of Liliana. If he really wanted to, he can use the Liliana legend rule to put another card type into his graveyard.
He's going to.
Yeah. And now he can traverse for Death Shadow.
Did he draw another traverse? No, he just wanted to get Revolt. Remember?
Or of course he got the traverse the open
Yeah,
one already.
Eric took it. Yep.
And he's going for a surgical here as well.
So that was Fatal Push into Surgical Extraction on Kitchen Finks.
So Eric still has the ability to combo off because he has one Spike Feeder, one Archangel of Thune in his deck. I don't know if he sideboarded it out, but he does have that as an option. But his hand is still pretty good. If he draws a land into Collected Company, he's still very live here. Sam Black is only at 5 life.
God, this game has been sweet. Liliana's now on 7 loyalty.
Oh, right, Liliana Emblem probably just going to end the game.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
Bird of
That
Paradise
is
off
not
the
a
top
land.
for Eric.
Are we going to see a Liliana Emblem?
Yes.
You got to go
Yes.
for it, Sam.
We are going to see that. I can't believe that this is what's happening in Modern.
You know, this could have been the second one, but Sam didn't want to do it in the second game. There's no creatures to get back.
There's a Street Wraith. He gets style points either way.
It's like
Birds go,
like-
and Sam says, I get to untap with this? Thoughtseize is a draw step for Sam. He's at 5.
He is at
He's
5.
got to be careful.
Oh my. What is Sam going to do this turn?
Sam, please just pick up those dice and throw them across the room. Thoughtseize you, he says. And he's going to
Bye-bye,
take away
Company.
Collected Company, leave him with a Tireless Tracker.
All right. What do we do here?
Sam's thinking. He's keeping us in suspense.
Emblem.
No, he killed the bird and
okay.
attacked. All right, well, we'll see what happens now. Tireless Tracker,
Oh,
fetch
okay.
land. That's a lot of cards.
That is. Sam will almost definitely going to Emblem now.
Yes.
He's going to have a couple of zombies onto the battlefield.
This is ridiculous.
Is this standard? We're seeing a tracker against a Liliana.
No kidding. And there's somehow a Street Wraith like, I play limited. All right. Couple of clues there from the tracker, of course.
Sam is at 3 life. What is he drawing?
He draws an Inquisition, so he completely bricked on his draw step, and I want to see those dice disappear. Yes!
Oh,
there
there
we
it
have
is.
an ultimate from Sam Black. Liliana, the Last Hope, is going to create a heck of a lot of zombies here.
I think we made history, Marshall. The first Liliana emblem in a modern Grand Prix.
Definitely.
Liliana, the Last Hope.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess the other one can't even emblem.
Doesn't Emblem, no.
Yeah.
She Ultimate's just fine, thank you very much.
It is a nice one.
Though I have to say, they never let you do it. You're like, let's make some piles. They're like, let's just go to game 2.
Oh, and we even had that
There's
emblem
the
ready.
emblem.
Here we go.
Love that. Great work by our staff. And Sam's at 3 life.
Oh, so Sam opting to not attack because he doesn't want to lose to Maelstrom Pulse
That's right.
on the zombie tokens. I think he's still
Smart play from Sam.
Yeah.
Probably still feeling that from
Yes.
the previous game. But Sam knows the longer this game goes, the better it is for him, and it will not take long.
Yeah. Eric needs to end it here. Or very soon.
Collected Company would be fine. Thank you very
Yes. Into some flyers. Collected Company into Bird of Paradise, Noble Hierarch. Eric must have drawn something pretty interesting
much.
here.
He is really in the tank here. Now,
Yeah.
one of the other things, though, that could be going on is he could be thinking about sacrificing a clue. What lands do you tap? What are my outs here? When do I sacrifice the clue? Do I need to do it now? Do I need to do it later?
Yeah.
And he knows how close this is. Of course, this is game 3 of the quarters in the top 8 of a GP, so really no wiggle room here for
Yeah.
Severson, especially with how far behind he is.
I think that was a Court of Calling.
Is that what he drew?
Yeah. Court for 2, not going to do a whole lot on this board. Probably just needs to crack a clue here. Eric gets to draw a lot of cards, but don't think he's going to be able to defeat this zombie army. So Sam still has to be mindful of the fact that Eric might be able to top deck a Maelstrom Pulse, because that would put him dead. But he does also kind of want to end it. Well, one more activation of this Liliana probably ends the game here as well. So sacrificing another clue here.
He's thinking about it.
Yeah. He might find a path to exile.
Wow, Eric's really deep in the tank here, trying
Yeah.
to sort out how he's supposed to proceed from this
I
point.
think he's debating whether or not he wants to crack the fetch land, but
He's going to crack the clue. He found Gavany Township, and he already had Court of Calling in hand. There doesn't seem to be much else he can really do this turn. He's already played a land, so he's probably just passing here,
yeah,
right?
he can't attack here. Sam can just block with 2 zombie tokens, and once the Tireless Tracker's off the board, Sam is looking golden.
Yeah, then Eric's in real trouble. So he's just going to have to pass here.
That might be another hardcast Street Wraith.
That is what it is.
Now Sam can just choose to attack with the Street Wraith and the zombies if he so chooses. That's going to
Yes.
that's going to guarantee 5 points of damage. Oh,
Yeah, he also has an Inquisition that he had since last turn, and this does get Court of Calling out of hand for Eric.
okay, so now he's got to be a little more careful. Maybe he's just going to be content with just making a bunch of zombie tokens and get in for one huge lethal attack. He should probably tick up the Liliana though, which I think he forgot to do.
He hasn't done it yet.
Yeah, and the Liliana emblem triggers at end of turn.
Oh, you're right, and
Yeah.
he's already put those on the battlefield. So yeah, he just overlooked that.
Yeah. He's like, I'm
It's-
happy with what you've done, with the work you've done so far, Liliana. The emblem's good enough.
It
That'll
is
do.
unlikely to be relevant here,
Yeah.
but yeah, just good
Yeah.
form.
Eric needs either a Maelstrom Pulse or a Collected Company this turn. Is that a Noble
It is a
Hierarch?
Noble Hierarch.
He can still draw a Collected Company.
He can.
can
He can still
sacrifice a
draw
clue.
and cast it. Clue.
Needs
Does
to
he hit
find-
the company?
Or a Maelstrom Pulse to survive.
No, he did not.
So yeah, if he found a Maelstrom Pulse, he could have gotten rid of all the zombies, attack, force a block from the Street Wraith, and Sam would have actually had an empty board.
Yes. And yeah. Then we would have been talking a little more about that Liliana
Right.
activation. So I think he drew a Fiend Hunter, Paul.
Okay.
If that's the case, does that change anything here?
Yeah, you can use the Fiend Hunter to basically
Is
get
that what
rid
you're
of.
seeing? I can't quite see it.
That is a Fiend Hunter,
Okay,
yes.
yeah, uh-huh.
So you can use that to get the Street Wraith here. And again, he can play to his outs. His out is top decking a Maelstrom Pulse for the zombie tokens. Now what Sam really wants to draw is just the removal spell to
But,
counter the Maelstrom Pulse.
Well, he's also, I mean, Eric is still facing lethal on this board. He has to represent
Path to Exile.
Path to Exile. And if Sam decides that he doesn't have it, all right, now he's not facing lethal.
Okay, so
So he's
Eric,
gonna trade
Eric
off.
knows that he's just dead
Yes.
because Sam has an active Liliana, the Last Hope.
Yes.
He played out the Noble Hierarch, but Sam can just get rid of the Noble Hierarch and win the match.
Yep, and this is going to do it. Sam Black is going to advance to the semis in 3. That's all 3 of our Death Shadow decks have moved on. That's Josh Utter-Layton, Sam Black, and Jerry Thompson all into the semis with Death Shadow. Wow. What a beating.
Unbelievable.
Okay, that's going to do it for the quarterfinals here from Vancouver. We'll be back with more Magic in just a bit.